Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back again with this week's update on all the physical releases coming to the Nintendo Switch. December 9th until the 13th, week 2 of December. As always, we're taking a look at all the physical retail releases, all the low print games up for order, some juicy imports, plus our spotlight section where we choose one game at random from our collection to show off to you guys. Well, that's usually the plan, but as you'll see in this episode, the run up to Christmas, there ain't a lot going on in some of these sections, but there's still a lot to get excited about, especially for me. Remember, if you want the series to keep going, leave us a comment with what's taking your fancy this week. What are you playing in your backlog, and what is the most recent addition to your collection? This week, I picked up the Final Fantasy 7 and 8 collection, the double pack, which I'm very happy with. Any opportunity to buy my favorite game of all time. Anyone else import this one? Anyways, that's what I've added. How about you? What's on your Christmas list? Let us know and leave a thumbs up. We know you hardcore fans love this series, so be sure to show it by sharing it around, perhaps in collectors groups on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and so on. It would really give the series that it push that it needs. I hope 2020 can be a big year for this series. Anyways, let's get on with it. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is supposedly releasing this week on the 10th, although I'm pretty sure I've seen people with it in their hands already for at least a week. But nevertheless, perhaps the longest overdue physical edition in gaming history, Shovel Knight was a launch title for the Switch, and now it's finally seeing the light of day on a cartridge thanks to the amazing perfectionism of Yacht Club Games, who wanted to completely finish the Shovel Knight saga before plopping it on a Switch cartridge. And considering the Switch releases have seen 25% of all Shovel Knight sales, it's nice to see some mutual back scratching. We hope to have a review up for you guys of King of Cards, which might actually be out already depending on how Juan gets on with it. So yeah, check out his review to see the final expansion of this classic indie legend. Bobble for Friends is getting a special edition release this week. It's pretty much the same game that released a few weeks ago, but this time with some extra little trinkets, including character cards, a poster, manual, and 2 keychains, one of Bub and one of Bob. Of course, I've had my eyes on this game for a while, but I've had to prioritize other releases first. Has anyone in the comments played this game? I'd love to know your thoughts before I buy it myself. Koloff Juarez is getting a fake physical copy with a code in a box. Not something I'm a fan of considering the game is less than 3 GB. They could easily fit everything on the smallest and cheapest card available. Anyways, this is a first-person rootin' tootin' cowboy shooting game which I have to admit I don't have any experience with. Anyone have any fun with this in its original release? Let us know. Before we get into today's low print games, just a reminder that if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for awesome weekly content like this, bargains, as well as a healthy dollop of all the latest Switch reviews and features. Plus, you'll be in with a chance of winning a Nintendo Switch Lite and a copy of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening once we get to 50,000 subscribers. Come on guys, it won't be long. Okay, moving on to the low print games. My Memory of Us was put up for pre-order by Red Art Games this week. It's an interesting puzzle platformer with a monochromatic visual style. This released digitally on the Switch almost a year ago, and it must have passed me by since I have no recollection of this ever popping up, but from screenshots and the trailer it does have my attention. Interestingly, Red Art Games have a collector's edition, but also are offering either a UK version with a lovely green triangle at the bottom for those kinds of collectors, and a French one with the weird purple one that kind of looks like a printer is running out of ink. $1,600 for the UK one, $800 for the French one, with plans to release in March. And well, that seems to be it for this week in terms of low prints. But I do want to point out something that Super Rare Games are doing on Thursday. They are clearing out their spares that were there in case of replacements and such, and they are putting them in random boxes to ship out. There are 500 games, including some of their very, very rare stuff like Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime, which is often touted as the rarest Switch game of all. You don't know which game you're gonna get, it's completely random, so if you've already got most of them, you may want to hold off. But if you've missed most of them like myself, you may fancy your chances of getting something that you really want. Before we get into the inputs, if you want to support the show and buy your games at the same time, we have affiliate links for every game talked about in this episode. In the description of the video and in the pinned comment that we put up, these affiliate links help us out massively to keep improving the show for you guys. Really, we invest pretty much everything into the show to improve it in some way, and also review those tasty inputs that we're all about here. Plus, a heads up in case you missed it a couple of weeks ago, I put together a list of the best Switch imports this year, 2019. After this video, check that out if you're interested in the import scene. Anyways, let's delve into the imports. Override Mech City Brawl Supercharged Mega Edition is getting a physical release in Japan with English on the cartridge. Juan reviewed this one for the channel but wasn't overly positive about it despite a few cool things going on. Who doesn't want to be a giant kaiju style mexing and beat the crap out of another one? This Supercharged Edition also includes instant access to many skins. I don't think this is getting a Western physical, so it may be an interesting one to import if you're into this kind of thing. Headliner Novi News is an adventure game from Chorus, looks rather stylish indeed, and according to the Japanese eShop, it does have English on the cartridge. It's a game that's been available digitally in the West, but perhaps no physical is on the way unless the developer has a deal with a low print company for a future release. Who knows? That stuff is impossible to predict. Could be one for an import. BQM Block Quest Maker is getting a physical release as a complete package. These have been available digitally for quite a while in the West too. In fact, I remember getting sent about like 5 review codes for it, but we just didn't have time to check it out. But it's kind of like an RPG maker with voxel graphics, and it should be cool enough to import. English is on the cartridge. Meg Aquarium is also another game that I got a code for and was very excited to check out since once upon a lifetime ago I did briefly work in an aquarium with dreams of becoming a marine biologist. Fancy that. But again, time limited my chance to check this one out. Well, now with a Japanese release with English supposedly on the cartridge, according to the Japanese eShop, then this import may be my chance. Creating my own aquarium was a dream of mine, so I'm very tempted by this physical import. Also, while I'm here, a shout out to Pula Aquarium in Croatia. I lived and worked there for a short while, and it really was the best time of my life thanks to the people who worked there. If you're ever in Croatia, in the Istria or Pula region, go check out the amazing work they do in saving endangered sea turtles. Honestly, it's a lovely little place. Okay, Samurai Spirits, aka Samurai Shodown, is releasing in Japan this week. Western audiences will have to wait until early next year. If you can't wait until then this is ripe for import, as both the Japanese and Asian releases have English on the cartridge, at least according to the eShop. If you're unawares of the Samurai Shodown games, what have you been doing? They're my personal favorite of the SNK fighters with their extra style, poise, and class. This reboot was well received when it landed on other consoles earlier this year, and we're hoping the Switch release holds up. Import links are below if you're after it a bit earlier. Ninja Jajamaru Collection is yet another import ripe for those looking to get their hands on some Eastern delights. This is a retro collection of Famicom games that people have probably never heard of, but it seems like music to my ears as someone who loves a quirky release. Retro collection? Check. Games no one's heard of? Check. English on the cartridge? Check. 5 retro games plus a brand new entry. It might be worth a cheeky import, this one. Also, it appears that Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon was delayed until this week, at least the Asian version. While I'm going to be happy to get my hands on this Asian version, which has English, it was very recently announced that sometime in 2020, publisher P-Cube will be offering a Western version. Don't know why they couldn't have announced that a little bit earlier, but it is what it is. If you can wait, then feel free to, but I'm still interested in checking this one out a bit earlier. I'm not gonna lie, this has been an amazing week for imports. Some great low-key games for the hardcore collectors who love something a bit quirky like myself. I kind of want them all. I'm definitely getting Meg Aquarium if I can find it locally, perhaps Samurai Shodown if it's not too expensive, and of course, I really do want to pick up girls in a dungeon because my wife said I can't do that in real life, so I have to do it in a video game. Alright, this week's Spotlight game. This is where I choose a random game in my collection to show off, big or small. This week we're going to take a quick look at one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, Okami. Okami is an action-adventure game that many people have likened to the Legend of Zelda series, at least the 3D variety, and many people argue staunchly that it surpasses most of those games in terms of quality. I'd say it's up there for sure, as this grand adventure has you taking control of Amaterasu, a god in the form of a wolf who must battle away demons and free the cursed land of Japan. It's an absolutely gorgeous game, plus with an unbelievable soundtrack. it's one of the essential games for your Switch if you don't have it already on other platforms. Saying that, the Switch version is considered by many to be the best version of all, thanks to it having parity with other console releases, but with extra bells and whistles like the HD Rumble, which really does add a lot, I must say. This was released digitally in the West, but like many other Capcom games, it did receive a beautiful physical version in Japan with a reversible art cover. It's one of the more affordable imports, and for me is one of the essentials for any import collection due to the sheer quality of the game, and don't be afraid since it does have English on the cartridge. Import collectors, you need this one. Import links are below if you fancy a copy like I have. And there we have it, guys, all the physical releases coming this week. Very quiet on the Western front, but with Japan completely ignoring Christmas, it's just a blessing for this episode. They've really saved this one. Anyways, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and share the video around, and perhaps use some of the links in the pinned comment and description if you want to buy the games and support the show at the same time. Head over to watch last week's episode if you missed it. Not many people watched that one, plus James's Bargains video, and perhaps our team's top 15 games of this year. We'll see you over there. Take care.